I want to show you friends how the final result has turned out of this beautiful little spider, and at home, they can accommodate its paws as you prefer. With this I ask as always, I really hope you enjoyed it, and many. But thank you very much for joining me today. For this project I will use this type of material. A annealed wire for handicrafts, a yarn of your preference. I am going to use this yarn to show them how to weave it, to make it easier for them to be at home. And we are also going to use some in red. Then remember that this one is only for you to be at home. You can observe it. For this we will need our cutting scissors, the crochet, 3.5 mm. The thickness of your yarn is more or less. You can do it with thicker or thinner yarn, a number 3 or 4 approximately. You can do it with brisa width. For any spinning column, or any material, or whoever you have at home. Let's start. In this case, cutting our first wire must have 30 centimeters is what it has. Approximately 15 and the other 15, yes. Then it is more or less 30 centimeters and we will need 8. Like this. I have it folded here, but in this case it is 11 centimeters long. Yes, they would be approximately up to here, from here to here. And for this we need 8. Here I show you more or less how long it measures. 11 centimeters. For you to take it into account at home, yes. Now what are we going to do to him in the corners? We are going to take, and with these tips, we can make one turn, so that it stays like this in the corners and does not sting us. Yes, we can do this to avoid hurting us. And we are going to do the same with the grate, which is going to be cut in the end anyway, but it must be manipulated anyway. So, we make one to see if we can see. And on the other side as well. So, well, let's get started. Once we have our first wire, I'm going to start by weaving 23 chain stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Once we have all 23 chain stitches, we are going to take the wire and we are going to start knitting. Look, we are going to place it here in the middle. And I'm going to start filling in the legs single stitch. Single stitch. Single stitch, and so on. I will continue to weave a single stitch for each space until the end of with all the stitch. And this is how it will look like. Wire in the middle of our work. Once we have finished with all the stitch, the next thing I'm going to do is that here, in the first chain stitch, I'm going to pass this little wool to the back. And I'm going to make him a slip stitch, a chain. And these little pieces of material that were left over, I am going to lose them with the help of a needle on the upside down side. Then between the stitch there we lose. I do the same with him or her or the other strand. Here on the upside down side. Because we lose. And in this case, friends, don't worry or else. Reached or if it goes down a little bit. Let's see in this part I'm going to throw. And we can also help ourselves with friendly clamps. If you prefer it there at home, look at. And in this part, we can accommodate and there are already stuffed feet or legs. In this case, I already have here, we need to have 8. How are these 8 little pieces goes? Now let's go to the body part. I'm going to start by making a magic ring. And I start by securing my first stitch. Let's make the first single stitch. And on this first stitch I am going to place a marked. Here step 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Single stitches I will remove the crochet and I will pull the drawstring at the start. The first circle to close. I close and the start cord now. I'm going to stop by here where I have this first stitch. Here. And I'm going to knit it a single stitch. This is going to be my first stitch. And in this same one is space. Look, now I have 6 stitch in total. 1 2 3 4 5. Let's see 1 2. This is the first one right here. 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Well, at this same stitch that I here I am going to knit for a second stitch. Now I move on to the next one and teju 2 1 and 2. Next one 2 must be a total of 12. And 2. Yes, then in total we have to stay 1 2 3 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 y 12. Well, now that this is the first stitch I have, let's do the following. I will count 1 2 3 3 4 5. And in this one, which is stitch number 6, I am going to place a marker on it. I am already divided. Then I have here this one 2 3 4 5 and in stitch number 6 I put the marker. And on the other side 1 2 3 4 5 and the scoreboard. Then on one side and on the other we already have half of it. Now the next thing I'm going to do. I am going to move here to this space, where I had my marker, which is half, and here I am going to knit him 1 2 and 3 single stitches in the same space. Yes. 1 2 and 3 I will place in the one of half of the 3. Here I am going to place my marker. And then I'm going to move on to the next stitch. And let's knit him 1 and 2. I move on to the next one. Single stitch. Next single stitch. Next single stitch, and here I have a marker, a stitch. First I will knit 2 1 and 2 single stitches. And this one has the scoreboard is 3 single stitches. Few 1 2 and in the second one I placed the scoreboard because there are going to be 3, and I need the score to be halfway through. And there I leave the third one. Yes. To be 2 3 and I'm going to move on to the next space. And in the space that follows, I'm going to knit 1 in the same space. 2 to make the increase. Now I will continue in the next space. And I'm going to knit it single stitch. 2 are going to make a single stitch for each space 3. And 4, and here the one that is nearby. To see in this one was the increase one here in this one. Let's knit him 2. Are the only increases we are going to knit. Then I made 2. Add a stitch before the center. Because this is the stitch in the center. Now I'm going to stop by. Use single stitch. And where I have my marker, let's knit 2 of it. 3 single stitches. And then I am going to place here. In which half of the 3 1 2 and 3 are located. In the middle one. I make a stitch, or rather I place the marker for my stitch. And I'm going to move on to the next space. And I'm going to knit him 1. I'm going to move on to the next space leaving 2. And I will continue to weave. 3 next 4 5. 6 7 8 and 9 single stitches. And at this stitch I have the marker. Here I am going to knit 3. So I make the 2 first. Space 2 and place the scoreboard. And right there we are going to make a third single stitch. I move on to the next stitch and continue. Let's knit 1 2. 3 4 let's keep weaving right there 5 6. 7 8 9 and 10 single stitches yes. And I'm staying in this case as if it were an oval. Not as a circle, but like an oval. Which is the one we need to make the body of this spider. Now already in this part. I have 1 2 3 and this is round number 4. I'm going to remove the marker and here in this part. Look friends, here I can already place you in this case. The wire, so we are going to leave it like this. This way, and I'm going to start knitting. The first single stitch. At this same stitch I am going to make the second stitch. And the third single stitch right therein is. That same space. But I'm going to leave you here in this part, my friends. The marker and I am already integrating. Now I'm going to stop by and remember to just go weaving. Stitch under next space. Single stitch next single stitch and single stitch. So until I get to where I have the other part of the scoreboard. Good one stitch. Before the scoreboard we will do the following. Now I'm going to show you how my friends are doing. Let's make another increase. Before our marker, but look at. This is how we are going to be left on one side. And on the other hand. As it will be closing. Now I am here friends. I need 2 stitch to reach the scoreboard. I'm going to knit him 1 here. And in the same space I'm going to knit him for a second. Single stitch. I'm going to move on to the next stitch and I'm going to knit 1. And in the same space. A second single stitch. And I will withdraw the marker. And on the scoreboard we are going to place the 3. I have been doing from the beginning. So here friends I go and do first 2 1. And 2 for us to be able to place our marker. In this part. Without then mishaps. Then I'm going to do the third one right there. Friends, remember that there were 3 of them, right? To see. I'm going to settle back here because it has come out of my system. For the third time friends. It has come out. Okay, now it is. Good friends. Then I will move on to the next 2 stitch. And I will knit 2 1. And in the same space 2. To make the increase. And in the following one I also do 2 1. And 2 to make the increase. And I continue to weave without increases. Only 1 single stitch for each space. To where we have the scoreboard part. Which was the starting marker here. And when we need two spaces, that there is only this one left. Now yes. In this part of here friends I am going to make 2. Not here. It was just at the bottom right. To make it look nice here. At this stitch. I close. Unslip stitch. And this is how our body part will look like. We can accommodate here. And this is how it will look like. Now let's leave it pending. Because I will continue to weave. I will move on here to the next stitch. Now we have the center part here. Let's start locating. This stitch that I have here friends is the part from the center true good here. I am going to make 1. In the same space. 2 and in the same space 3. And I am going to place the marker here. At the stitch where I have half of the 3 left. 1, 2, and 3. I already have then I move on to the next stitch. This is the one in the center I have 1, 2, 3. And it is at this stitch that we are going to integrate. Here the little feet or legs as they may be called. I will pass. I'm going to pass first at this stitch on this side here. And here I leave. The first stitch low. You can also do it from above, if you prefer. I move on to the next stitch. And on the other side. Here. Step. And I also have a single stitch. Or a slip stitch as you prefer at home. So. And then in this part we arrange the leg part. And I'm going to move on to the next stitch. And let's place the other one at once. Here. Here in this part. Step I take the first stitch. Is. And we are going to place the paw that fits me. I pass and knit my first single stitch. I move on to the next one. And let's take the other side of the paw. See if it is difficult for you to drink at. In this case, the paw you are going to take the stitch like this. On this side. And make. It's single stitch. Then how is everything going to be the same color? They will look very nice eh? Friends, I want to show you here because I already have. In the black shade as we had been. And for the end we are only going to do it here. Where we have our marker. A slip stitch and with this. We terminate on the upside down side. I'm going to stop by the little piece of material to lose it, just as you did on the paw part. The legs alone. People. We are going to arrange them and here in this part of here. Friends. This only. I'm going to leave first. Let's arrange for us to have a. Just as we need it. Can be a little bit wider if you prefer it. Wider there in the little house you give it the shape that you need or that makes you more beautiful. And once you have it. Here in this part you are only going to turn. Tours. And you can cut this wire. Or you can leave it at the bottom. That's at home, you decide. I am going to leave it here for the time being. So, yes, and in this case, the legs can also be accommodated. I'm going to lose this little piece of material. I will cut this. I want to show you that I already have my spider here, and in this case, look, I have two options. Put these little eyes on him, they are tiny. And we can leave them as for we can find them, or we can place all three. This is the option, and it would look like this more or less yet. I have not arranged the legs, but we're putting them in place right now, my friends. And I have this other option, which are eyes. Bigger eyes, yes. And if you want to make it as more, you can say it looks like a little monster. A third eye can be placed. There it is, and it looks a little bit more affectionate. Our project. Now in the part here I have not Colorado. I have not removed my marker, which is the part of the end. Then remember what I had told them. That before finishing I don't know if I can see it. Friends, I don't think so. But while this is the center here you can see it. And here in this part. Here it will be seen right now, it will be seen. I will pass, and all I'm going to do is fill in the. Look, it happened to me in the same space. Wherever my grandfather passes by. And I will fill in. Yes, that's the only thing I'm going to do to finish, and you're going to. I want to show you how far I have finished. So what I did was to make another one just like it, as the base of the front, and what we are going to do is glue it, to cover, and to make the legs a little more fixed. For this I am going to use glue. They're at home use. For example, can use hot silicone, which is faster, or cold silicone in this case, as it is a glue for fabrics. And we hit this is already our last step, my friends, so it is necessary to. It should be left to dry for a while. And in a little more second I'll be back. I want to show you, friends, how the final result has turned out of this beautiful little spider. And at home, they can accommodate its paws as you prefer. With this I say goodbye. As usual, I really hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, support me by sharing on your social networks, with their relatives, with his friends, in your Facebook groups. And see you in the following video. And many. But thank you very much for joining me today.